First of all, I gotta ask people this. Anybody who's very familiar with the Hall of Fame eligibility rules need to answer this in the comment section for me. How is McGrady getting inducted this year? Because I understand that they shortened it from uh, what was it, 5 years after you retired. It used to be like you had to wait five whole, like the period of time from you retired and the time that you were inducted had to be like over 5 years, or you had to go through 5 entire years. And then the year you're inducted was usually like 6 years. So, like, let's say Michael Jordan retired in 2003. 2009 was a full 5 plus years after he had retired, and then he was inducted to. You know what I'm saying? How is McGrady being inducted this year when he retired in 2013? This is only 4 years, so I'm kind of confused about that. Unless they mean by calendar years, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, even though it's not actually 5 full years. Maybe that's what they mean by that. So, having said that, I remember when he retired in the summer 2013. I did a video about it. And I said at the time that I thought his case was a bit iffy. Only because, don't get me wrong, when McGrady was at the peak of his powers, he was he was going to go down as one of the all-time great shooting guards. Okay, injuries betrayed McGrady because there was a time when he was with the Orlando Magic. I think his best years were with the Magic. Some people say with the Rockets, but I think individually it was with the Magic. But he was still great with the Rockets too. But there was a time when this guy was putting up 32 points a game, 7 rebounds, like 3 assists or something like that, 2 steals, 1.5 blocks. You know, he was shooting about 46, 47% from the floor. My only knock about McGrady was I thought, and this was just in that era, I thought he took too many 3-pointers. But he was right there with Kobe offensively as the most entertaining offensive player to watch. I guess the people would say the separation between he and Kobe was blessed with more talent around him, blessed to have his health for far longer. And some people would say Kobe was a more consistent defender. Though I thought McGrady, when the opportunity presented himself, could be a decent defender. But there's a lot of bad defenders in the Hall of Fame too. You know what I mean? But McGrady to me, man, was just like a different prototype player. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't see, he was like a precursor to a Kevin Durant. You didn't see, and he's more athletic than Kevin Durant, by the way. Like Durant's athletic, but McGrady was doing things that McGrady's the first guy that I ever seen in an NBA game throw the ball off the backboard, catch it, and slam it. I think he did it during an All-Star game. See, that's kind of, I don't want to say it's commonplace now, but these are things you didn't see before. The creativity when it comes to certain things. He was the first guy I remember seeing do that. I remember the dunk that he did on Yao Ming. He was just an exciting guy to watch. I guess the greatest knock on him, and this is why I was wondering whether he would go in, is not only because of the injuries, but the lack of playoff success. Really, he never got past the first round. Okay, there was that infamous series where they were playing against the was it Detroit Pistons, and they were up. I'm trying to remember whether this was. I think this is when the series was still best of 5, and I think they were up 2-1, and they were talking about, McGrady was talking as if the series was over, and the Pistons came back and won the series. Now, of course, he was on that Spurs team in 2013 that made it to the NBA Finals, but they didn't win. And McGrady was denied the NBA championship, but McGrady really wasn't a big part of that team anyway. Matter of fact, I don't even think he played in the finals. So there's that lack of playoff success that hurts him. But there are a lot of players in the NBA who are in the Hall of Fame who did not have a lot of playoff success. One guy that comes immediately to mind is Bernard King, a guy who's had a similar career. In his prime, Bernard King was probably the most dominant scorer in the small forward position in the 1980s. In his prime, at least for a stretch, before that devastating knee injury in Kansas City in 1985. And, like I said, Bernard King did not have postseason success, but you can make a case that Bernard King may have possibly should have won the MVP in 84-85. Possibly. The team wasn't great, but he was just sensational that year. But this isn't about Bernard King. This is about Tracy Mcgrady. He's in the National Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. There's going to be some people who think he shouldn't be there, but if you watch the guy play, and I did, and most of you did, when you watched him play, because I remember when he was with Toronto, it also makes me. I'm just thinking about a lot of different things I'm doing this video. It's interesting to find out this past year that Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Krause was going to the Hall of Fame too. He's not my favorite person. I'm sorry that he passed away, and I'm glad that he's getting in. But unfortunately, he's not going to, of course, be there because he passed. But interesting to find out that the Bulls almost made a trade for Pippen from McGrady, and how that would have changed the trajectory of our franchise. When we win a championship, at least extra championships, I don't think so, but you don't know. Like, for instance, if McGrady was already there and he was a burgeoning superstar, that would have attracted so many different people to go play for this team outside of how the normal trajectory of the team would have been. But you never know about that. But tell me how you guys think about that. Oh yeah, before I forget, with McGrady getting in this year, in my opinion, this almost assures that Grant Hill will get in next year. I think it's a possibility. The reason why I say is because Grant Hill retired, I believe, the same year, 2013. I think they don't want to overload too many players coming in this year. So what I think is going to happen, I think Grant Hill is going to get in next year. Now, Grant Hill doesn't have the strongest resume when it comes to longevity, but for a 6-year span, Grant Hill was that dude. Okay, he was. I think you take that and you couple it with his very dominant Duke career, his collegiate career, he should get in. I think another person who might get in next year is Chris Webber. Because it's to the point now where it's the Hall of Popular and the Hall of Very Good. Now. That's just how it is. So now I'm starting to feel like they're lowering the bar a little bit because if they kept the bar as high as it used to be, none of these guys would be getting in. That's just, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I think. But tell me what you guys think.